want to thank you all for coming. My name is Steve Gladman. I'm on the staff of the Affordable Housing Trust for Columbus and Franklin County. Thanks for attending today the dedication of the Charles building. The Charles is a mixed-use structure that houses the trust offices. It has a retail space. If you're interested, it's available. And it also houses Ohio's first Scholar House, and we'll hear more about that later from our various speakers. I wanted to first of all acknowledge all of my staff who've gone through not only building the building but transitioning to a new office, and to give special recognition to Susan Jones, our Vice President and Chief Operating Officer, for kind of keeping it all together, and to Erica Wicks, who was the Program Manager for this project. We also have Steve Hurd with Urban Order somewhere. I saw Steve. He's over there. He was the architect. So if you like the design, tell Steve. If you don't like the design, you can tell me about it. But we're very pleased with it. And also, Wade Hungerford is here with MCR. MCR was the construction entity for the building. So we're very pleased that with that partnership, and it worked out so well, and we ended up producing this wonderful building. The Trust is a private nonprofit that was established some 11 years ago, and it's governed by a board of directors. And we have some of our members of the board here. Bob Weiler, who's our vice chair, is here. Lark Mallory is here. Kenny Davis is here. Who am I missing? Chip Santer is here. Sharon Young is here. So we have many of our members, and Steve Mershon, who does all of our legal work, has graciously came in from Granville for our opening. So we appreciate his presence as well. The trust is funded. It's unique in the country because all the funding that we receive is local funding. And the trust really was a product that came out of a study that Mayor Coleman initiated, and there was an identified need for an entity that would provide financing for affordable housing in Franklin County. And so out of that, with the mayor's efforts, it was funded. And our other funding partner is the county. So we want to also thank the county commissioners, Brooks, O'Grady, and Brown, who take care of county business and aren't here today. But am I taking all your... Thank you, Mike.
Fill in the blank.
Okay, I don't want to step on you. But I also wanted to acknowledge that we've been very blessed with such a strong board and great leadership. And our chairman is Donald Shackelford. And if you came in today, you saw that we have named this resource center the Donald B. Shackelford Resource Center. And it's just a small appreciation for all the work that Don has done, not just for us, but for the entire community over a long life of philanthropic service to the community. So at this time, I would like to introduce Don and have him introduce the mayor, and we can start our official program. Mr. Shackelford.
Thanks, Steve. And I notice he has me on a program for closing remarks, so I won't take up too much of the mayor's time. And I apologize to some of you who were here early. I was here a little late. Not as late as the mayor, but a little late. And that's in part because of civic improvements. I got on, among the yellow cones, the yellow signs, and orange stuff, trying to get, and I found I was, instead of getting here as I normally would, I ended up on 17th Street, or 17th Avenue instead of 17th Street, and but I did get here in time. The mayor, whom some of you may know. Anyhow, some of you, he was mayor before some of you were born. But the mayor, I just asked him, having been a major factor, having delivered about 67% of this area's vote for President Obama, asked, what are we getting back? And he says he's working on that. It remains to be seen. but I did, just to briefly, this, as Steve Gladman mentioned, this is just more than a civic-funded project. This is a small dream that the mayor was a co-author of. The mayor and Warren Tyler, who was our first leader, cooked this thing up, and they went through and they had committees and they had a lot of civic backers, but it was their deal. And I was merely a draftee in their deal, and they were the ones that, and it's very seldom that you get some of these dreams that come true, to combine a way of financing moderate income housing with neighborhood improvements and being part of overall city plans in this area, around Nationwide Children's Hospital, over in Franklinton, and a lot of scattered sites throughout the county and the city. And the second thing, again, as Steve mentioned, if you look around the country, there are a lot of affordable housing trusts. This one's unique. You've got the county and the city working together. Some of you who've never tried to get two government departments, try and get the FBI and the CIA working together, try and get the Army and the Navy working together. Even if they're on the same side, it ain't easy. We have the county and the city who work together on this thing, but the mayor started it. And before I take up too much of it, he's here to inspire us. That's what he does with young people. So, Mayor, would you come and inspire the youth of America here? Good to see you.
See, we call Don Shackelford the Don. And he's also a part-time comedian, paid well for that as well. And I want to thank Steve Gladman, who's been a great leader of this organization, and the board of the Affordable Housing Trust Corporation, and Warren Tyler, of course, who was right there in the early days. We're trying to figure this thing out, and you never know how things turn out, but here we are over a decade later, and we're in the Affordable Housing Trust building that it constructed. And it was, the seed began actually the first year of my first administration back in the year 2000. It took us a couple years to organize the Affordable Housing Trust Corporation. But Don Shackelford has led this board. And, Don's, he's done a lot in this community when it comes to housing. He's probably had had more housing starts from just his involvement, his influence than any other human being in the city of Columbus. And we're so grateful for him back when he was in the private sector with State Savings to Fifth Third all the way to this organization. And I won't let him resign this role either. He has to stay here. He raises his eyebrows, but Don, we can't do without you. You're irreplaceable. There's very few people in America that you can say is irreplaceable, and you're one of those. So the Don is one of the great members of our community. We built neighborhoods block by block, and so we thought about this several years ago. We said, how do we sustain funding for housing in Columbus and raise it up, make it important, and make it something that we all should engage in? And so what we did was we thought of an idea. So why don't we tie it to visitors? When visitors come to the city of Columbus and they rent their beds in hotels all over the city, a portion of the bed tax goes directly to this organization. And that way you maintain sustained funding over a sustained period of time. So sustainability is the key to success. Consistency is the key to success in housing and just about everything else you do in civic life. And this neighborhood is an example of consistency and sustainability. Because it was in 2004, 2005 when we said, we have to work hard to bring this neighborhood back. Because this neighborhood at that time was pockmarked with blight and all other issues. And so NOBO came in and built many homes, energy efficient homes. We started the development of the Whitney, and it's about to be done. Thank you. Thank you. Where is Charles? I saw Charles here earlier. Right there. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. 28 market rate homes. Poindexter Tower we just tore down the other day. We cut a deal with The Ohio State University that in exchange for a tax break we gave the university that they redirect $10 million to this neighborhood. And we have that under an organization now called the PACT. And the PACT is in the process of redeveloping this neighborhood through a community process. I've tried to step back and let the process work. And I'm hoping the process will work. We have the Lincoln Theater that has been constructed and so successful, and you're doing a marvelous job there. It is a marvelous building and has brought in thousands of people into our city, into this area of the city. So the Charles building, this building here was a blight. At one time was a medical office building, and it was in the process of falling down too, as many buildings have been in this neighborhood. And I said, you know, we're going to use this as an example where we rebuild a community block by block, house by house, building by building. Tore it down, and the Affordable Housing Trust agreed to build this building with NSP funds. I think $2.2 million or thereabout. And here we are today. And this is a phenomenal success story. But it takes sustainability, it takes consistency, it takes persistence to bring back neighborhoods and to change communities. And that's what we're doing here. Steve Gladman, thank you so much. You've been a great leader for the Housing Trust. And above the offices here, now I want to see the offices, but also if there are any apartments, I'd love to see them too, because I understand that 9 out of 10 are already rented. Already. And there are 2 bedrooms, and what's also important is there are also 3 bedroom apartments. And there are not too many of those in the marketplace. So I bet those 3 bedrooms went early, or are they still vacant? What are they? Some of them. Okay, all right, we'll find out. So this has been an exciting endeavor. This too was done through a community process of what the community wanted to see with respect to this building and the architecture and all that, and it's making a difference. So block by block, building by building, house by house, parcel by parcel, we're going to bring this neighborhood back. And it's working. It's working on a long-term, sustained, consistent basis. And you can't do anything without great leadership on City Council. We can't fund anything without City Council saying it's okay. And they have to be there with us. So Zach Klein is here, who's done a marvelous job as Development Chair for the City of Columbus, has been our great partner. Zach?
Well, I tell you, you get pretty discouraged when you're sitting there and you realize that everything the mayor says is what you're going to say, and so but I do want to touch upon a couple of the highlights, and I don't want to take too much time because really the mayor did sum up really the things that I was going to say about the first thanking the Affordable Housing Trust and Steve and the work you do and all the board members for being such great partners. Second, the community collaboration that went into this project in particular. I know that with the facade design and a lot of the work, it was done with community input, and I really appreciate you taking the time to do that, and I know the community does too. The third thing is really about this project in conjunction with the many other projects the mayor mentioned, whether it's the Whitney, whether it's the King Lincoln Theater, whether it's the PACT project, whether it's NOBO. It's all about this sustainable growth of the neighborhood, and it is a block-by-block approach. And the mayor used a good word, and that's a seed. You know, the seed, like planting the seeds in the ground so that it can be cultivated and congealed into a long-term development and long-term growth. So certainly thank the mayor's leadership, and I would say in many other councils before him, but the mayor's been there the whole time. But so on behalf of the Columbus City Council, certainly working with the mayor and the administration and the work, and I know Rita Priest and the work that she does over in the housing department is much appreciated to the long-term sustainability of this particular neighborhood. And I can't think of a more important project than what the Charles embodies with the neighborhood stabilization funds that we receive from the federal government and the $2.2 million that's invested here. The NSP funds, when you think about them, they're funds for helping neighborhoods that are almost there, that are right there, and just keep pushing them forward. That's really what the NSP funding is for, and this embodies really the purpose of why we would fund a project like this for the sustainable growth of the Near East Side. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Zach. The community was very involved in the process, as Councilman Klein mentioned earlier. I don't think Annie Womack was able to make it today. She was invited to speak, but the process that we used to design the building involved a series of design charrettes with the neighborhood. So we had 2 different design charrettes that allowed community input, and we actually changed the design of the building and created the retail space at the request of the community. And we worked through the area commission process like any other developer would to bring this project forward in its final form. One of our important partners that's been alluded to is Community Properties of Ohio and Scholar House. And there will be a tour, as the mayor indicated, right after this, and the residential units will be available, and you can see those as well, and you can tour our office and enjoy the refreshments that we have available today. But at this time, I'd like to introduce the president of Community Properties of Ohio, which is Isabel Toth. Isabel's going to tell you about Scholar House. Now, she's so enthusiastic, I'm just warning you, about this project that we have put a time limit on her. And there's a short video with one of the residents. As Isabel will tell you, the residents not only go to school, they work, they do community activities. They're very, very involved, and we're just delighted that we could be the seed for this, which we think will grow into a larger community effort to do Scholar House. So, Isabel Toth.
Well, thank you, Steve. I tell you, it's an honor. It's a treat to actually be here celebrating this event today, and everything that folks have said before me just really lead right into the continuation of the dream. So really the seed analogy is a very good one. I am speaking on behalf of Hal Keller, who is president of Ohio Capital Corporation for Housing and also on the board for the Affordable Housing Trust. And we also share a couple of other board members. We have Robert Weiler's on the Ohio Cap board, Susan Weaver, I saw her here. And so, when you look around the room, you realize that these are the folks that are, it's like the usual cast of characters that come together to get it done. And I think this is a great example of that. Hal could not be here today because Ohio Capital Corporation has an annual event for our developers, and that is today. And of course, all of our folks are out with our partners getting ready for the applications that will go in for the low-income housing tax credit program in February. So he sends his regrets, but also his congratulations, and I know he really did want to be here. So, Ohio Capital Corporation and Community Properties. Okay, so where do we begin? Mayor, we go back, you said you started thinking about this in 2000. In 2000, Ohio Capital Corporation was working with campus partners in the Ohio State University on an enormous portfolio here in Columbus. It was formerly known as the Broad Street portfolio. There were 1,335 units scattered across 7 inner-city neighborhoods, and the units were really in very bad condition. And the residents were very angry, and the neighbors were very angry with the residents, and so it was really, as we say, off the hook. So we came in 2003, decided to buy the existing management company, and we changed the name to Community Properties of Ohio. And Community Properties says it all. I mean, it's really about the entire community and how we come together, particularly in Columbus, Ohio, to make things happen. So we finished the rehab on about 1,000 of those units at the end of 2009, and we have, again, speaking of investment in the community, our actual office campus is located on Broad Street with our maintenance and training facility on Gay Street. And so we have an office campus that we have that includes a training facility where we have done training with over 1,000 individuals just in the past year. So we're very invested in this area, and the interesting thing about the Charles Building is that before it was, or after it was the medical office building, it was actually part of this Broad Street portfolio that we spoke about. And this was one of the buildings, as we looked at deconcentration and we looked at buildings, in terms of rehab and so forth, was one of the buildings that we took out of the portfolio. And we land banked it with the city. And so this is kind of interesting how this all comes back around. And so, here we are. The Charles Building was originally a part of the old Broad Street portfolio, wasn't intended to be rehabbed at that point as a part of that portfolio, but here we are with something that's even greater, more exciting. And of course, it's because of those little seeds that you plant, like I did with Steve, about wouldn't it be great if? Ohio Capital Corporation has done $2.5 billion in equity in affordable housing around the state of Ohio and contiguous states, a lot of that in Kentucky. It's 29,000 units and 535 developments. And as a part of Ohio Capital Corporation, we got involved with a group in Kentucky that did this Scholar House concept. And so I was just really, just thought it was a fabulous program. So we were able to get a number of folks, many of you here in this room, but we actually took a bus load of folks down to Louisville, Kentucky to actually tour the Scholar House program that's down there so that we could look at that and say, is this something we'd like to bring to Columbus or to Ohio? And so that, I think that was about 3 years ago. So this has been kind of a little dream of mine, for 3 years to try to help bring this to Ohio, and I hope there will be many, many more of these across the state of Ohio. To tell you a little bit about that, we have the Scholar House program is a housing program with an educational component. And so it's more than housing. But housing is the critical piece to have people, talk about sustainability and consistency, as the mayor mentioned, to have the housing that is affordable to them. So that is a significant piece of it, but it is really geared to single parents who are in school full-time. So in order to apply, the students have to be, they have to be a custodial parent of at least one child. They have to maintain a full-time student status at a state of Ohio accredited program, university. They have to maintain a 2.5 grade point average. They have to qualify for the Section 8 with CPO and CMHA. And they would go through criminal background checks and so forth. But in addition to that, they have to have a letter of recommendation, their transcripts, course schedule, and they have to submit an essay, and they go through an interview process. And along the way, we discovered the Access program, again, at The Ohio State University. So here we are back, partnering with The Ohio State University, who does a lot of that same work. And they needed the housing, and they brought students and a lot of their support programs. So it's really been another great partnership. We have students that are with Ohio State. We also have students that are with Columbus State. We are also working with the E3 program, which is through the United Way, and it is for women that are underemployed or unemployed, and one component of that is to encourage the education for for them to advance in their work. So we are working with those folks in terms of the recruitment of our staff, of our residents. We have 10 units. They will all be rented by the end of this month. We have, I believe, 7 have moved in, and we have 8 2-bedrooms and 2 3-bedroom units. And through the wonderful partnership with Columbus Metropolitan Housing Authority, we were able to get the Section 8 on those units so that the residents can pay 30% of their adjusted gross income for rent and utilities. And again, my hat goes off to Steve, to the whole process, Wade, to Steve Hurt in terms of the design and the finishes in these units. You are really going to be surprised how wonderful they are in terms of space and finishes and quality. So you would think today we would have our residents join us, and we thought that would be easy. They live here. Well, we attempted to do that, but these are very, very busy women. All single moms, all full-time students, all have jobs, and all do some form of community work and are full-time mothers. So we had to resort to meeting with one of them at 6:30 at night and doing a video to actually have someone be here. So isn't that a great sign? It's so exciting. The woman that I'm going to introduce you to, Antoinette Terrell, is one of our first students. She was a part of the Ohio State Access Program, and Tracy Lewis is here. Tracy, wave. Tracy heads that up and has become my very new best friend. And along with a number of other folks, there's just a whole list of people that have really had their fingers all over this to make it successful. But we have asked Antoinette to do this little video, and I will tell you that she is very nervous in the video, and you're going to hear some noise in the background. We did this just with a camera, our staff, not a photographer, but there's some noise in the background, and that is her 3-year-old son and Jeff, our regional property manager, who's in the back there, playing with a truck to keep him busy while she does this interview. So, it just all sort of fits together. But she came to us again through the OSU Access Program. She had a 3.6 grade point average when she came here, and she's going to tell the rest of her story, and it's just a delight.
Thank you, Isabel. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to be present today, but school is a priority for me. I want to thank all the people who made it possible for me and my son Ryan to be attending at Columbus Scholar House, Community Properties of Ohio, Affordable Housing Trust. I also want to thank Mayor Michael Coleman and Councilmember Zachary Klein for all the other amazing community partners who made this possible for me. Since the 6th grade, I knew that I was going to be attending the Ohio State University. I had a scholarship from 6th grade, full ride to the Ohio State University. And come 11th grade, I was unsure if I was going to attend due to an unexpected pregnancy. I felt confused, lost, and actually ashamed because I didn't know where my dream was going to be at. I did some research, and then I came across Access Collaborative Program, and that's where I met the amazing Miss Tracy Lewis. She's been there for me from day one, and she always came up with different opportunities for me that I can both benefit me and myself. Through that's where I found out about Columbus Scholar House. She called me the day that after she met with Isabel, and she told me the great news, and I just jumped for joy. The same day, I tried to start filling out applications for Columbus Scholar House because I knew it was going to be a good opportunity for me. Before Columbus Scholar House, I had to work a lot of hours, to pay rent and bills and, still take care of my son. And being a full-time mother and a full-time student and working can be a bit overwhelming for many. I'm a single parent, and I have a lot of barriers that I had to overcome. And through Columbus Scholar House, I no longer have to worry about working a lot of hours. Actually, my hours been cut. I was able to cut my hours because I don't pay as much for rent now. I have more time to study. I have more time for my son now. And overall, I can just focus without having to worry all the time. I also really think it's a good idea and a good thing for Columbus Scholar House, the fact that it's all mothers around me. I know that late at night I can study. I don't have to worry about loud music or anything because all the other mothers are studying too. If I need to go somewhere, I know that I can ask another mother to watch my child, and I don't have to be worried because I know that they're responsible just like me. And vice versa, I can watch their kids. We have play days. It's just a good community where learning is our main priority, and being parents and mothers is especially important to us, and now we can do that with other people who we relate to. I feel like Columbus Scholar House is amazing, and this should definitely continue. It helped me out a lot, and I can't wait to see what it has to bring in the future for other mothers who may have had the same problems that I had overcome due to Columbus Scholar House. I just want to give everybody a thanks for helping me. Thanks for making this possible, and continue to do a great job. Thanks. Bye.
So let me just end with telling you that this is the beginning. And the 10 units that we have here, we plan to submit an application with Columbus Metropolitan Housing Authority through the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Program. The application will go in February, and the goal is to add an additional 28 units, which will go in this kind of grassy area. You'll see when you're outside there's a lot of space that's just been, we've demoed some buildings and put the grass and the straw down. But that's where townhomes and another building similar to this will go. And we hope that it is successful and the competition in February. And then we would be adding those additional 28 units in 2014. So thank you very much for letting me share this story. It is really very exciting, and I can't wait for you to see the units, and I would love for you to meet the girls. They're wonderful. Thank you, Steve.
The residents, why we really do all this, and we get involved in the financing and do the loan approvals through our board, but it's really the end user, who benefits, the lives that we change, that really matter. So we're very blessed in this community to have such support from the mayor, the council, and the county commissioners to do our work. We will have a tour. The office tour will be self-guided. Isabel's staff will take you upstairs and show you the residential units. There are refreshments, and we'll end by having Mr. Shackelford, our chairman, give us some sage words to send us on our way. So, Don?
Okay, Steve said this whole facility came about with the thanks to all of you through a series of neighborhood charrettes. I did not know what a charrette was, except they didn't serve alcohol. I figured that out, but we can improve on that. I think this is very exciting to see what a program can bring together a lot of very broad-based threads that are working through our community. You've got the neighborhood redevelopment. The mayor talked about Whitney Young project coming online. You see buildings here, there, and the other place replacing boarded-up buildings, and that's good. We need people like all of you down here, the new businesses that are trying to open up. So that's one thread that's walking. The neighborhood redevelopment, where the mayor and his group have taken a lot of leadership in doing that. Second thread, I was just thinking, as listening to Isabel talk, that the women taking over more and more leadership. We have 20 women senators now in this country. I can remember when there was one in the Senate, and they have gotten there by work and by being able to articulate things well and at length. And Isabel is a great monument to that. And for everything where the people at the people at the head of things get the headlines, but the work is done by a lot of people. Steve's staff, Vicki Troy, Susan, a lot people have been with us from the beginning of this. This was a vision that's still a small thing. We don't exaggerate our importance, but you're bringing together, particularly in this thing, the first time we've had a permanent residence for Affordable Housing Trust in the right area, symbolizing the right kind of things that ought to be done. With this Scholar House, we're bringing together education, which is the important way neighborhoods get better and stay better, and the Scholar House. So you have a thing that these are young adults getting their education. So you have in the city things that start with a thing like I Know I Can, which I have to plug because my wife would not speak to me if I didn't plug I Know I Can, starting with little kids in second grade and moving on up to these adult women who are who missed opportunities to complete their education and are not sitting back and letting the world pass them by. They're going out to get it. And going out and fetching things is a good part of it. It's a decent home for them. Ohio State's helping. That's another part of our community. So you're bringing a lot of things together here, and we're happy as a small organization to have been a little part of this. Yeah, and we hope for any of you, this is not your last time in this neighborhood. Come back early and often, and thank you all for being citizens of our community. You know, you see these things on TV, and we are lucky to live in Columbus because of the work a lot of people have done in Columbus, but also we're just lucky. You see, I could have lived in Sandy Point, Long Island, or somewhere like that, and had water up over my head. It's nice to be in Columbus, and it's nice that a lot of you are working to keep it a nice place to live in. Thank you very much for coming.